This is a really powerful one. Think back to when you were 14, 15, 16 years old. What you were doing during that period, what you were thinking about, the sort of emotions that you were going through, the things that you were doing, the people that you were with, and just stop for a moment and have a think about that. Would you be willing to go on a platform that's pretty much available to anyone to see at any moment and talk about something that is outrageously personal to you? And I just want those two questions to sit with you. And then we're going to go and meet someone that's going to join us for this last series. This all came about from your mum having a conversation with me, and to say that it impacted me would be an understatement.
I've struggled quite badly with being unwell with my mental health. I know that a lot of young people suffer in silence because they don't know how to get help or they don't know how to talk about it. I know how isolating it is to not be able to speak up. Like, you're never alone. There's loads of people that go through similar things. You just kind of have to be reminded of that.
Where did it start for you?
Probably in November 2023. That was when it kind of was more of a harsh reality. I have been in therapy since year 8, so when I was about 12, 13, it wasn't as bad until it got to November 2022, when my mum kind of had gotten quite worried, and she thought that the best next step was to go to the doctors and see what they recommended to do. After talking about what was going on in my head and how I felt, they then told me that I needed to go to A&E and get further support there.
You mentioned your mum was an enabler for this. What were the sort of behaviours, or what were the points or triggers that you think led her to get involved? And
signs like I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to see my friends. I was so exhausted all the time, and I just found comfort in just lying in my bed and doing absolutely nothing. And I just didn't see a point in being alive. And then I didn't actually tell my mum that because I was scared about worrying her, but I think it just became quite obvious to people just because I was just upset and I just didn't want to talk, and I was just very quiet all the time. And that's not really me as a person, so it's quite a significant change.
so that's interesting. You, from what I've taken from what you've said there, you've naturally been a talkative person then.
Yeah.
I understand from learning a bit about you that you do things like drama, which is quite extrovert.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there and quite confident, I guess. So you're saying there was a natural change from being a certain way and acting a certain way, and then you felt it, and then you also started to express it in your behaviours.
Yeah.
What happened when you went for that support?
After I'd been to the doctor, I kind of expressed some of the thoughts I was having, and then when I got to A&E, I had to tell them what I was there for. So then they basically get in touch with the mental health liaisons team, and they work across both the child and adult wards and waiting rooms, so it can take a really long time to get that support. And then they come and they basically do an assessment. So they ask you questions like, what's your mood like? Have you got any plans to take your own life? And just kind of give an overview about how you've been and why you're there. And after I'd done that assessment, they decided that I wasn't safe to go home. So they then admitted me to the ward, and I stayed there for about 2 nights. During that process, I got referred to CAMHS. CAMHS is the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services. Every general hospital has a CAMHS, and basically they refer you to there when you're a struggling teen. They do all sorts, it's not just for mental illness, they also help people who have autism and ADHD. Basically you get taught coping mechanisms, and it's basically just an outlet to kind of talk and get professional help. The CAMHS waiting list is very long, which is not always the best, because when people do need help, it can take quite a while for that to be put in place.
And how long did that take for you?
Because I was at a crisis point, they basically put you automatically to the top of the list so that you get assigned to a worker. But if you basically just go through your GP and ask them, can I be referred to CAMHS, it can take up to 2 years for some people.
And so what happens next?
So after that, I then meet with my worker, and we basically just kind of go through a plan to see how best to help me. And then you get signed up for weekly appointments, but that's not always put in place straight away because they have a lot of people that they have to see.
Can you tell us a bit more about the impact that it had on you?
It did have a lot of impact in my life because, you know, I was doing a lot of appointments all the time, and initially that point that I went into the hospital, it wasn't as big a change as the second time. The following year, so in 2023, that was probably the biggest change. Leading up to that, the change was different because I'd never experienced CAMHS and home intensive treatment before. But I think then things definitely were even bigger of a change in March.
What did it do though? What impacts did it have on your actual life, your routine? So you're 15 years old, 14, 15 years old?
Yeah. You know, when you're 14, it's kind of, you're just like learning how to be a teenager. You're supposed to be kind of just finding out who you are and enjoying life, I guess. I spent a lot of time not wanting to be here, which is kind of a strange thing for a 14-year-old to think, because, you know, you've not even started your life in a sense. So it'd have quite a detrimental impact. And also just like, I did miss out on quite a lot of your key childhood years because of the fact I was just unwell and I was just really suffering with not wanting to be alive.
This is a difficult one though. You've used the words not wanting to be alive. Did you actually try to take any action?
Yeah, I did. I've gotten to the point with like medication and wanting to take it, but there was in September, just before I went back into year 11, I kind of took quite a big turn again, and I did attempt, but I think that I don't really know what happened in my head, but after I'd, you know, attempted, I kind of had this like shocking realisation that, well, number one, I could actually die, and number two, that I actually didn't want to die because there was so much that I actually had left to live for, but I didn't realise it until I kind of got to that point, and I was just like looking at myself. So I did actually end up calling the police because I didn't really know what else to do. They dispatched some police officers to the house, and then they took me to the hospital so that I could get checked and make sure that, you know, everything was okay and that I didn't end up dying. But yeah, it was quite a surreal night, and I don't know really why I kind of stopped, and I did take that action on myself, but I'm very grateful I did.
Wow. For you to be able to talk about that so eloquently and so openly and so profound, thank you, I guess, first and foremost, mate. And I don't know if that's easy or not, but I'd love now to start talking about what are the things that happened that have now got you to the point of where you are today.
The home intensive treatment, they did really help. After September, I did meet this worker called Becca from the HIT team. She was a massive help. She was the kind of person that's definitely in the right job. I think my CAMHS worker especially, she has been a great support and has given me, coping mechanisms and outlet and an understanding of why my brain works the way it does. And Junction 17 as well, that's the day service at Prestwich Mental Health Hospital. A lot of people don't actually realise that this support is there, but instead of being in a psychiatric unit, I just went and got the help, except I could go home at the end of the day. Made me get to the point of being able to go on holiday with my friends and just basically start living again. Obviously, in recovery, like, setbacks always do happen, and that's something I kind of had to realise and accept. But just because I had those setbacks didn't take away from the fact that the professionals, they really did save me, and I definitely wouldn't be here without them. But also just my family and friends, like, they've been with me from the first day that things went bad, and they're still here today. They were always there whenever I needed them. I think kind of the realisation that I did have these people in my life, and I did have people that cared and that loved me and that needed me to be alive, it did change a lot for me. And now, like, I've been able to meet new people, and I've been able to start going back to school and enjoying, like, the last few weeks of year 11. It's simple things like that that really do make you grateful for all of the people you've had, and just to genuinely just be here, and like even just being able to come on a walk, like, it's just like little things like that. It really sets in, and it's just like, I'm so glad to be alive.
You talked about professional support.
Yeah.
From CAMS, from TT...
HIT.
TTHIT. You spoke about the profound impact of your loved ones.
Yeah.
And your friends. So it's a mixture of all of this.
Yeah.
And if one of those elements isn't there, it's going to impact the outcome.
Yeah. I think everyone's journey with struggling with mental health is different. I mean, not always necessarily do people have to have the exact same support to get better, but I definitely think that a mixture between professionals and keeping those that love you around, it's really important.
An amazingly beautiful, profound thing to come out of this, if even it has come out of this, and please share and tell me if I'm accurate, is what's that meant for you now as for the person you are and what you want to do going forward?
It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to struggle, and just because you think you can do it by yourself, you don't have to. I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm a girlfriend, like, I've got all these things, but that doesn't mean that I can't also recognise that, yeah, I do struggle sometimes, but that's nothing to be ashamed of. I have, like, scars to prove what I've been through, but I actually take pride now knowing that I survived, and that I can now hopefully try and help other people who are going through similar things that I did. And you can one day look back and think, I'm so glad that I'm here, and I'm proud of how far I've come.
Seriously, thank you. I'm certain, I know for a fact, that's either going to help someone directly or it's going to help someone indirectly. The vast majority of people I think that watch this are going to be parents, they're going to be aunties and uncles or next door neighbours to someone that is going through that period in their life at that age, and that's going to be massively profound. And I think I'd just like to leave you with the thought of, people talk a lot about privilege, and people talk about what privilege is and what it means, and it's so much to so many people. Something that is absolutely paramount to me now is how privileged I was to go through the younger years of my life as I did. Privilege for me is about not ever having to worry about or think about mental health until very, very later on in my life, which enabled me to do what I did and have the experiences I did with such impact in my younger life. So for Ella to share what she did and the impact that that's had on her life, I think is unbelievably brave. And it does, for me personally, make me realise how privileged I was. So thanks for watching yet again, and I look forward to seeing you in season 2 of Time to Talk.